Hi, welcome to Construction One-on-One with Ravi Bhatia. I've got a special guest today, Mr. Mehdi Nurbakhsh. Mehdi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Ravi?
Well, I'm doing very well, and looking at some of the exciting things that you're doing, I have a feeling that our industry is in really good hands. So, Mehdi, let's talk about your engineering journey and how it led to becoming a leader in paving the digital future of for the AEC industry.
Yeah, so I started as a structural engineer back in the days, and my passion was to write codes that design buildings. And after doing that for a while, I decided I talked to our CEO and I said, "Look, I've been doing this. I've automated most of my work, and is it possible to move to construction site and build what I designed?" And he said, "Oh, you're gonna learn a ton," and he was absolutely right. You know, as a young engineer, I was not caring too much about how to build things, and my design wasn't really constructible. So moving to construction site opened up lots of opportunities and changed my thinking, and more specifically about some of the challenges that we had about the shortage of skilled labor back in the days. And, you know, sustainability was quite new, but we were suffering, especially in the farming season, to lose our workers. And they left the construction site to do a safer work in farming. So I started thinking about how I can change this industry. I was young and I was dumb, and started my higher education in construction management. And then I moved to Georgia Tech to do my PhD in building construction, getting a specialization in artificial intelligence at the computer science department. And that was a moment that for me was an aha moment that, oh my God, we can solve some of these problems, or at least alleviate some of the pain that exists in the industry with the help of technology.
Wow, and it's quite a journey. And one of the things that makes our industry so special is that there's always an opportunity to improve, and we have so many problems we're trying to solve as an industry. Now, from your viewpoint, how has the construction industry changed in the past 15 years, and what changes may we expect going forward?
Yeah, I will say, like, if you look at the problems that used to exist in the industry, and there still exist today. I talked about the shortage of skilled labor. Back in the days, you know, even though we were talking about the shortage of skilled labor, it wasn't as severe as it is today. During the pandemic, a lot of our workers left the industry, mainly because at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything was going to a halt, a lot of companies let these workers to go and they never came back. And the demand today in construction is increasing. In fact, I had a call this morning with an innovator in the industry, and he said, "Look, we are getting more and more projects, but we don't have any workers
Uh,
to deliver these
That's
projects."
frightening. I just read in the latest issue of American Society Civil Engineers, they're predicting a severe shortfall of civil engineers. They said we need to add 25,000 civil engineers every year for the next 10 years. That's a 250,000 civil engineers. Where are they going
Yes.
to come from?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is across the board. You know, unfortunately, the AEC industry, architecture, engineering, construction industry, is being less attractive to the young generations. Back at Georgia Tech, because I was both at the School of Building Construction and Computer Science. Back in the days, maybe we had 10, 15 people in the building construction department coming in, and there were like 300 people in computer science. But today, the computer science students increased to maybe 3,000 or 5,000 students compared to maybe five or less students in the building construction. So a lot of students are choosing to go to other industries and other majors other than the construction industry. And we need to make it more attractive to the young
We've got
people.
to do a better job. Construction is a fantastic industry with tremendous opportunity to grow and to learn and to be entrepreneurial. In what other business, as a project manager or a project superintendent, are you the CEO of the project without having to invest in it?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
and so those opportunities, that chance to lead teams and to do exciting work using new technologies, I think that this industry, the future of this industry is brighter than ever. How do you think that digitization is going to change our industry or is changing our industry?
Yeah, when you think about the digitization over the past 15 to 20 years, we have digitized a lot of processes in the industry. With the advent of, mobile computing and having that on the job site and be able to move the technology from the offices into the job site, help us to create some standards and procedures around how to manage and run the projects at the global scale. And that was really good and necessary. But what I'm mostly excited about is the next era of this, which hopefully we move from digitization into optimization. A lot of processes that exist today and being digitized, we can get rid of those processes if we start thinking about how we can optimize this process. I would say they were necessary to begin with, but the question becomes, how can we streamline some of these processes and optimize them in the long run?
So so going from digitization to optimization, can you explain that? What does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with a simple example. Back in the days when the building information modeling came to the industry, before that we had a lot of challenges with coordinating different models with the MEP system, with the structural system, with the architectural design, with the facade. And with the help of this technology, and when everything got digitized, we no longer work on CADs and PDFs and prints. We started coordinating these in a better way and started finding clashes. And it was a big advancement in the industry. We could detect clashes before they happen on the site. But if you think about the next step in the process, if we can create these on the cloud, or if we can create an AI system that can create this on the cloud, we should avoid having a clash rather than having a clash at the beginning and then try to detect it and negotiate
So,
it.
so you're going to a higher order of digital advancement. So you're looking at a revolution in design and construction that's digital twins, modular construction. You're really thinking beyond what most of us think about, BIM, and we think about clash detection, but that was really early stage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was necessary, and we had to have that as a first step to move us from papers and 2D CADs. But thinking about the next step and what the industry is going towards to is optimizing some of these. Having said that, we also, if one thing that we can advance and one digital revolution that we can have is the digital revolution of our permits and our municipalities. We can't take the industry forward if we still give permits like what we used 200 years ago. And this has to change for the industry to unlock a lot of potential that exists today. Everything should at least go to 3D,
So
not
that
4D, not
value,
5D.
you're trying to unlock value in construction, and ultimately, look, ultimately owners, whether they're private or public sector, they want to have projects that add the maximum value. And so
Absolutely.
if we advance in one area, we've got to advance in other areas. And one of the areas I think that has tremendous opportunity for improvement is really the way we manage our supply chain. in construction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a broken system in the supply chain. And thinking about all of those and being able to create a network of supply chain and bringing that into early design decisions can tremendously help the industry move forward.
Well, when we were talking the other day, you mentioned something about a sort of innovative way to install steel. So that would change sort of the steel fabrication and manufacturing, and more and more of construction seems to be going modular and more
Hmm.
off-site. So, as an industry, though, how do we, as AEC professionals, how do we prepare and do a better job to prepare for the digital revolution that is happening right before our eyes?
Yeah, yeah. I will say, because in my world, I'm working with a lot of startup founders and a lot of company executives, and the things are happening. There are a lot of startups in the market that are trying to help the industry and move the industry, but they can't do it alone. And the way that we can facilitate the change in the industry is basically my request from the executives in the industry is that trying to help them to help the industry. And even though some companies have the budget and R&D to do experimentation, and this is their way of doing it, but because of the low profit margin, a lot of companies don't invest that much in R&D. And my request is to, if we can help some of these newly formed companies to come up with new means and methods in construction, at the end of the day, all of us will get the benefit out of that.
Yeah, one of my concerns for our industry is that, and it's kind of what you said, it's such a fragmented industry, and we know that the large companies have the resources to adapt new technologies and to ride the innovation wave and have a much longer horizon that they're looking at. But as you know, most construction companies are mid-sized or small companies that don't have
Yeah,
those kind of resources, and a lot of them struggle with cash flow and with processes. For them to adapt to the digital future and to adopt these new technologies, that's going to be tough. And I
yeah,
fear that some of them may not be able to adapt in time.
absolutely, absolutely. And this will be there are leaders in the industry and there are followers, but unfortunately, the majority of the industry are laggards. And if they don't wake up on time, it will be too late for them. And the consequences of that to the industry could be huge.
Yeah, and I think you definitely see it. I've kind of felt it for the last 5 to 7 years that this industry will be unrecognizable within the next 5 to 7 years. So
Yeah,
we're right at that point. A few years ago, McKinsey did a study about how construction was ranked last in terms of innovation, and it truly is a laggard industry. But I believe that therein lies the opportunity, and people like you stepping in and serving as a gateway to the future. I think that's very important, but it's also important for us who are in construction to send this message to young people, young engineers, architects, professionals, that this industry is not so antiquated. It's actually dependent on the next generation to take it to the next level. So what advice do you give to your students?
yeah. I would say that this is the most exciting time to join this industry.
Of course.
Um, I wish I was a student right now and
Oh
intern
my
this
God.
industry.
It's fabulous, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that passion that you have, it must be great to be your student. What do you tell them?
Yeah, so my advice to the students, because I was at the school for a long time, and I guess I spent half of my career at school. My advice to the student is that the stuff that you read today, 90% of what you are reading and writing, they're very important and they're part of your journey. But perhaps you may not remember some of it or most of it later on in your career. But this is the essential step that you need to take. And instead of like focusing on the content, as a student, try to learn how to learn things.
Oh my God, that's
So
brilliant. That's it.
that's
Learn
it.
how to
If
learn.
if you use the content to learn how to learn things, you will be unstoppable in the future.
And I think that that's the message sometimes engineering students don't get, that the purpose of engineering school, now you've gone on to get your doctorate and you've done a lot of
Yeah.
advanced studies, but most of us who went to engineering school at the time, we didn't realize that the real purpose of an engineering education is to teach you how to learn, really.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're always you can't remember every formula, and you don't really have to,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
You can Google
Yeah.
everything today, right? So what are you
Yeah.
actually learning? You're almost rewiring your brain. So
Exactly.
wow. And now you've done some pretty interesting things in the AI space as it relates to construction. What key pinch points in the industry do you believe that AI can help us with, can benefit
Yeah.
the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the major, as we discussed today, one of the major challenges that the industry has is the retirement of their knowledge workers and industry experts. And what AI is basically is a field of science where scientists try to mimic how humans see things, act, learn. And one of the key areas that AI can help us in the industry is basically mimicking the capabilities and the knowledge of our skilled workers and being able to preserve that at the organizational level. One of the one of the case studies that I mentioned in the book was a case study done by a team at Haskell, when the Haskell is a construction company that they built uh, they built they built facilities for yogurt and food and beverage industry. These facilities carry yogurt, wine, and it's very important in these facilities to have a clean and very clear piping. So the welding of these pipes becomes really important. But if
Mhm.
you think about these pipes, these stainless steel pipes, the worker comes in 8 a.m. in the morning, start welding, and they continue this until 5 or 6 p.m. in the afternoon. So they get tired. They don't exactly know what's the quality of their welds, and they have two certified welder or two certified welding inspector that can go to the site and inspect their welding. But these are very experienced people, more than 40 years of experience. They can be in every construction site.
Right.
So typically they get a phone call from a superintendent saying that, hey, I think there is something wrong in this area and you need to come. And they need to travel into some remote location overnight. They're always on call. So what they did was they said, what if AI can help us to not only inspect every single weld, but also help us to preserve the knowledge of these welding inspectors? So they created an AI system where once the welding is done, the welder can just snap a photo and the AI system can tell them, hey, this is a good photo or this is a bad photo. And
Wow.
this way, every single weld is being inspected. But the good part is that these welding inspectors are on the site or working from home. They receive all the photos and they receive the AI recommendation and say, okay, AI is right here, AI is
So
not
it is
right here.
iterative. It is iterating at
Exactly.
such a fast pace that eventually the program can distinguish between what is a good weld and what is not an acceptable weld.
Exactly. So the knowledge of the human goes into the system and they can preserve it for the next generation to come. And also now welder inspectors are inspecting maybe thousands of weldings every day. They're getting smarter because they can discuss and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And the AI is also learning from them. So at the end of the day, everybody wins. And this is how AI can help us to preserve the knowledge of these highly skilled workers in the industry.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges I've seen in construction companies is that you have seasoned professionals at all levels and in different disciplines who work together in project teams. And when they retire, that tacit knowledge that they have,
Yeah,
this is the biggest asset that construction companies have, and that asset walks out the door, right?
absolutely.
And if we can
Absolutely.
find some ways to codify that and to capture that, the value that you would be unlocking would be tremendous. So I almost feel like, in many ways, of course, in construction, we have traditionally been in a contentious or antagonistic role, owner
Yeah,
against the AE, against the contractor. But I think those days are over. Today, it's
yeah,
about how do we work together to add value. And what I
absolutely.
want to know is how has the industry embraced your innovative ideas? Have they been open about it? And what resistance have you encountered? Because you must have some resistance.
Absolutely, yes. Well, when you think about the technology and new way of working, there are always people that are like early adopters. They want to change, they want to learn. And there are
What
some
percentage is
people,
that, do you think?
well, I think maybe 10%, 5 to 10%, they're super excited. They want to test new things and they want to. But if you think about the majority of the industry, in our industry, people have different fears. And for a long time, I've been thinking about that. And I remember reading this book called The Salmon of Doubt, written by Douglas Adams, that talks about the reaction to technology over time. He says, I've come, I've come with a set of rules that describe our reaction to technologies. And he basically has these three rules. One is anything that is in the world when you're born is normal and ordinary, and it's just part of the way that world works. And anything that's invented between when you were 15 and 35 years old is exciting and revolutionary, and you probably get a career in that. And anything that invented after your 35 years is against the law of nature and against the order of things.
That is
So
interesting. Oh, wow.
yeah, and I remember reading another article about in 1825, people were afraid of trains and believed that their body cannot tolerate the speed of train, and it would melt if the train goes over 50 miles per hour. So that was the kind of a reaction that people had, and understandably, because it was new and
Over
they haven't.
some resistance. Is that the same Douglas Adams who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I guess, yes.
He's a very funny writer. He has a, I mean, that book was written a long time ago, but he has a very satirical view of looking at the world, and he finds humor in technology, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is interesting. I mean, ultimately, you're working with early startups, investors,
Mhm.
construction companies. How do you sell AI to investors and developers in a language they can understand? Because their language is ROI, right? How do you
Exactly.
sell that?
And this is the key, because you basically you don't sell AI. You help them to reduce their risk. You help them to
Correct.
increase their profit margin, and you help them to increase safety, quality, and succeed in whatever metrics that they have. It happened to be through AI. And the language is always around what are the key metrics that they have, where do they want to take their company in the future, and what are some of the existing problems that they have today, and how AI could help them achieve some
Right.
of those
Because
goals
a
that they have.
developer, a real estate developer, they're very pragmatic. They
Yeah.
have taken risk. They have put their money on the line. They have investors' money, and then they borrowed money. And so they want to know how can this help them from an economic point of view. I'm going to ask you a very tough question because I sense that AI and digital technologies will help us tremendously in safety. And
Yeah.
I do you foresee a day when there are no accidents, or the expectation is that there should be no accidents on a project?
Oh, well, yes. And that is, when I think about the future of construction, there is a line, every project will have a balance between what do we do on site versus what do we do offsite. And imagine that we have a network of supply chain that we can go to and we can choose from. And for each project, based on the given condition of the project and the weather condition and everything, we can choose to maybe build 80% of the project offsite versus 20% on-site, or the other way around. So as we move towards the future, I will see that most of the project, or most parts of the projects, are being fabricated and shipped to the site. So as for the AI and safety, historically we look at AI in a not right way, in a sense that we can just put cameras here and inspect workers and tell them, hey, you're not having PPE, or you're a good person. But we didn't really look into what does that look like from the workers' point of view. Workers don't want to be spied on, and they don't like such technologies that
Of course.
just observe them.
Yeah.
In one of the construction projects that I went to, they got it in the right way, and that was they built a safety culture. And they asked the workers, hey, if you see something safe, snap a photo and tell us, very simple mobile interface, tell us what did you like about it, click here and there, and just send it to us. And every day more and more workers were participating in this program. And not only their accident decreased, but they had a great structured data set available for them to train a machine learning model on what is working on the site, what is not working, and how we can improve the safety training.
Wow.
So this is another way of using AI. Same problem, but now you consider the workers and the environment that they're operating on, and now create a culture that everybody loves and everybody wants to participate.
Wow. Our viewers, I'm sure, will be fascinated and very intrigued by everything you're saying. Could you talk about your book? They might want to read your book and maybe find a way to contact you. Do you have a website?
Absolutely, yes. So my website is Mehdi, Mehdi, Nour.com. And my book, Augmented, you can find the link to the book on my website. And I would love to get connected with all of you on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out. And I always receive emails from students, and I'd be happy to help you in your future career. And if anything that I can do, just let me know.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mehdi, for being so generous with your time. Really appreciate you. You've just sparked so much thinking here, and we all have a lot to think about in this wonderful industry that we're in. And I'm really looking forward to reading your book, looking forward to seeing how you advance our industry. So many thanks. And thank you, everyone, for joining us at Construction One-on-One with Mehdi. Just incredible work. Thank you.